Good afternoon. How are you? Well, Thomas Jefferson tells me that the temperature may seem to be 32, but it's really 28 because of the wind chill. The winds are about 4 miles an hour. And as you can hear my voice without interruption, it's not affecting our walk and talk so far. The humidity's 48%, and the wind, like I said, is about 4 miles an hour. We established a government in 1787 through a constitution that considered that the three departments would be a check on each other. That is the executive, judicial, and legislative. So currently in this triangle of constructive interference, that is to say that excesses are checked by one or more of the other departments, our system is breaking down. Congress talks as if they are separated from the invasion of the techies from the West, who seek to go into these different agencies and to find out what they're doing and to make radical policies that very well compromise the mission. They do this in defiance of bills that were created by the U.S. Congress, one of the departments, the legislative. And there isn't any talk about going into a second department of the government, the judiciary. In fact, today, I heard one member, whom I highly respect, say that what the Democrats would do is we would wait for them, the government, the felon Trump assembly, to make a mistake, and then we would act. That's too late. This is happening now. This is a home invasion, or a house invasion, if you will, if you consider the Congress a house, that's being invaded by soft-pedaled Republicans and patient, pliable Democrats, even as the security of the nation is at risk. And not just us. For example, USAID feeds people, the largest provider of food in the world. And felon Trump gave the heave-ho to security officers who refuse Elon Musk's team access to their operations. The biggest story, however, are the tariffs. Trump says his tariffs on Canada and Mexico, which go into effect on Tuesday, will be worth the price. Not to us U.S. consumers, because we're going to pay the price. The price is going to be 25% on tariffs, both for Canada and Mexico. And here's the other kicker, separately. There's also going to be a tariff for China of 10%. And presently, I believe it's 25%. But if you remember, candidate beating his chest, Trump, said it would be 100% for China for certain things, So what is it about the fact that we would attack our allies in a way differently than the first administration of Trump? The way in the first administration we attacked the allies, yes, with some tariffs, and then that resulted in a trilateral agreement in which there are presently no tariffs due and owing us from Canada or from Mexico. And in the first administration, however, Trump and his corrupt minions, they attacked NATO. And again, they had a bullshit cause saying, well, they hadn't paid their dues as members of NATO. So the thing that we have here is, what is the rationale for increasing the tariffs, and then this will in turn increase the prices of domestic goods? Now, there are some out there who Pollyannish say, I don't know that they believe it, that the business is being protected at home by increasing these tariffs will A, profit, and B, they won't be tempted to increase their prices. The basic economics course is always about supply and demand. If you're cutting the supply of goods with these high tariffs imposed on other countries, Canada, Mexico, China, then presumably there's an advantage at home. When the supply has been limited by those tariffs, they'll seek other markets ultimately, and we will see our businesses both profit by getting an increased volume that no longer goes to those who are suffering from the higher tariffs, and they will increase their prices as well, because greed is the first principle. It's the first principle of business. It is why sooner a camel goes through the eye of a needle. So, what is Trump saying is the reason for doing this? Now get this, it's to combat the invasion of migrants and fentanyl. Fentanyl has become this magical drug that wouldn't be used in America outside of a hospital or perhaps a patient visit dealing with chronic pain. But there's an appetite in America for this, and we're talking about illicit fentanyl. What product stands at the door of America that says it's fentanyl? This is a law enforcement issue. It's not an economic issue. It's not a trade issue. So, in other words, we are in the civilization of lies. A dark, dark place inhabited through history by dictators and liars, self-seeking individuals, usually the wealthy, and that's certainly the case in America. So this is our major problem. And patience and waiting for the moment to strike, that's not an answer. That's an explanation that's false, and the purpose is to make us think we're being protected when we're not at all. Now, Canada and Mexico and China are going to come back with their own tariffs. And in the case of Canada and Mexico, since they presently have no tariffs, then the increase will be affecting the products that we were getting without tariffs from those countries. Now, Canada has said that hopefully, I think anonymously, that they hope this will be a wake-up call to the Republicans who worry about getting reelected when it's not just eggs that cost more. You know, and keep in mind, we have a bird flu thing going on here. So we're concerned about certain products for different reasons than economic, health being one of them. Now, I encourage all of you, including those who didn't take it seriously, but those of us who did take it seriously, this is not news. This happened in the first term with tariffs involving Trump, his first term. His president, whom he favors the most in history, McKinley, he was strong on tariffs, and he didn't fail his presidency, but he got pushed back, and it was considered a great defeat for him, and he was not considered a bad president, if you will, in those terms, but he was for tariffs. Harris said this would happen. Still, people listen, and they believe, and they defer to his lying statements about what tariffs mean. So like I said, some say we should wait for that moment, the big mistake, because they're doing too much. Well, no, you shouldn't, because we're sitting on our heels when we should be on our toes with our punch half cocked to hit somebody in the head. This is all wrong. Now, waiting until Trump gets it wrong, he's getting it wrong every day now. His nominees, his invasions as part of his retribution, The fact he said he would be a dictator, he told us that. But these people don't want to believe it because it's like they don't want to get into a neighborhood street fight, except this is bigger than that. This is historic. This is whether we can keep the kingdom or not, whether or not we can keep this a republic or not. So this assassination attempt against democracy and this attack on equality is at the very core of our being, and it affects so many things. And it'll be from the seeming daily problems to the magnificent problems of the corruption in our government. Now, I've lived through, I believe, terrible governments, starting with Nixon and Johnson before that. He was praised for his war against poverty, but he had to be criticized for how he waged the war in Vietnam. And to this day, and no one can ever reconstruct me, he was close to the worst president because he killed our young for no good reason based on lies told by his administration. But then we had Nixon, who picked up the standard and didn't do much better. And then after that, we had Reagan. We had the Bushes, and we had Trump once, and we didn't learn a damn thing from it. How is that possible? How do we decide that we were comfortable with a man who gets convicted the way he does? And if you want small and little things to be concerned about, this morning a United flight had to be stopped because it was going from Houston to New York. It was a United flight. Had to be evacuated after the fire on the wing blasted into flames. Flames on the wing, 104 passengers. Now, no injuries. I'm sure it's a credit to the pilots. But what is this? Well, you know, I say there's a 78.9% chance it's maintenance. Maintenance. Why did that wing go on fire? There was a failure. Wiring, electricity, chemicals, obstructions, something. And we'll know about it probably in the days ahead because we have the plane and we have the plane with the wing that was hurt. All I'm saying is you can't do things on a daily basis with our history and expect it to work. The Republicans now have a kind of hold my beer view of everything. Drugs, justice, immigration, retirement, pensions, disabilities, all be damned. That's the watchword of the Republicans. You can try to say it's not so. You can pick up something you're reading as our First Amendment is reduced to a party line that comes from the White House. And that's what we got to deal with. Fight now or lose. It's going to get worse before it gets better, but it can get a lot better sooner if we fight. We can't stand there and take the punches in the face. We have to stand up, defend ourselves, and strike back, and do it now, and do it often, and do it in a determined fashion that shows we really mean it. Change our rhetoric and state what is going on. Even that truth would be welcome in a country that's living a lie. So that's what I got to say from my cathedral of trees. And I don't know, it's invigorating today. Wearing, as you can see, I'm all swaddled in comfortable clothing. And so that's kind of nice. So see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.